Pronounced, defined, used in lexical dispatch. Credence. Noun. The belief that something is true. Acceptance. Belief. Credibility. Credentials. Letters of credence. Credenza. Freshet. Noun. The sudden overflow of a stream caused by heavy rain or snowmelt. Deluge. Surge. Spate. Influx. The fact that none of the documents contains any personal signatures lends credence to this. We live in a culture that routinely gives credence to citizens who profile based on race. This week, we saw a new development in Germany which could add credence to these claims. Another is the measured tone in which the blog posts are written, which has only lent credence to the comments and occasional speculations that I have read. This lends credence to the theory that Republicans failed to hang rising prices on government interventionist policies. Calculating the cutoff, the researchers suggest, could give credence to the idea that the universe is actually a simulation. It has nothing to do with the source, whether I give credence to the allegations or not. Pretending he doesn't exist just gives more credence to what he says in the minds of his followers. The problem is when you call them out, you give them more credence. There is not enough evidence to give these mentions credence. I know many faculty members don't place much credence in such informal online evaluations. Further examination of this model using observational measures would give even more credence to the findings of this study. The river has already swollen with its annual freshet, as it does every spring. The tunnel became a kind of creek bed, a freshet in the spring, with nice grassy banks and flowers that had run wild from the old gardens. What started as a trickle of studies on protected area effectiveness in the early 1980s has become a freshet, and the findings of these recent studies are sobering. Tony, Danny, and Gilbert all stared at me, uncertain how I'd gained this freshet of approval. Perhaps with the upcoming anniversary in mind, publishers this fall have released a freshet of Reagan-related material. A freshet of anticipation swept over me that first morning when I looked out the front window to see the backed paper at last, peeking up through a fresh layer of snow. In August 1996, a controversial dam on the Clyde River in Vermont was dynamited after a spring freshet washed out an embankment. In the corner, a freshet of water flows over a carved glinting stone into a catch-all. A freshet from the heights above ends in a cascade that crashes into the water beside you, coming down right over your head. Everyone knew something. No one knew anything for certain, but every freshet of news was shared and devoured. His face was on fire, but his legs and belly were frozen, as though he had waded into an April freshet. Suddenly, a freshet of environmental publications, some old, some new, is striving for a mainstream audience, feeding on the growing awareness of a planetary threat.